Okay, I knew I was going to have too much in my hands, but as a teacher, I wanted to make sure that I brought my lesson plan, right? We always have to have a lesson plan, so thank you. That's super helpful. So thank you for having us. You know, it's not always easy to come and talk about your challenges, but I think it's really important, and I hope you see that as a change for Minneapolis Public Schools is about transparency, but also accountability, which is part of our norms and part of our values. So we're just going to have a discussion tonight about it. So sit back, enjoy. Really excited to be here with you tonight. Just want to say a special shout out to Achieve Twin Cities and to the Graves Foundation. We appreciate you having us, and we appreciate you all coming out to hear a little bit about MPS. So let's talk about, oh, that's okay. I can keep going. So I want to take a little moment before Senior Officer Diop comes on to set some context for you and perhaps talk about my interim superintendent year last year, right? So when I got on board, I thought a lot about budget, right? Like we all have. And I know there's a ton of MPS people in the room. Shout out, raise your hand. Hi, everyone. There we go. So all of us in our roles at MPS have had different ways that we've interacted with the budget. And since 1997, all the way up here, there's different ways that I've interacted with the MPS budget. So now I find myself in the interim superintendent seat, and suddenly the process is mine. And I own it. So the first thing I really thought about was our ESSER dollars, which is our elementary and secondary school emergency relief dollars. And we got multiple millions of dollars over multiple years, and I walk in on the last year. So what do? Do I keep status quo and use them for continuation of services that we had at MPS, or do I do something radical? Well, probably not to Senior Officer Diop's delight, I decided to do something radical, and I said, we're going to do something different this year. So what we decided was we really wanted to institute something called priority-based funding, or budgeting. With priority-based budgeting, it was really about having a conversation about what was important to MPS. So we asked every department, and I mean every department, to do a presentation for us that talked about what were core essential functions that they had to do, what things were mandated by state or federal law, and then what things actually aligned to our strategic plan. Now, I have to tell you, our strategic plan was a little dusty. It was kind of put on a shelf. We had a teacher strike. We had a transition of the superintendent. I was looking for a North Star that would help us really think about where we were and where we were going. So as we dusted off that strategic plan, we asked all of our departments to also align their money and their financial ask to that strategic plan. So we sat for presentation and presentation and presentation. And for someone who's been in the district 26 years, I was like, I know everything about every department. I'm sure I do. I did not. So I learned a lot, and it was really important, and I think it set us up for a really successful way that we're going to be looking for our budget for next year. We have that already, we have that baseline already done. So as we listened to this, three things became absolutely clear. Number one was we have not met the academic needs of our students. Number two was we hadn't met the needs of our students who are advanced learners. And number three is we had schools that had no functioning libraries. Unacceptable. So as we went through priority-based budgeting with a group of people who were from finance, there were an associate superintendent, there was departments that were represented, we also had principals in the space, we started to see these three things rise up. So I made the decision, and I own it, that we were going to use our ESSER money in a different way for this final year. And we were going to use that for intervention triads. So intervention triads are actually triads that are assigned to schools that are a teacher and 2 associate educators. And those triads would provide intervention for students who were not making progress and were not proficient. And so that is what we did. And some people were like, number one, you're crazy to do that for a year. And some people said, two, you're kind of crazy to do that when there's this thing called a teacher shortage going on. Fair enough. I thought it was really important to do it now, though, because I don't want to get to the end of the ESSER funds and say, I don't know what's going to work for kids. I think this is our best shot. I'm very excited about it. I've been seeing it out in action in schools, so I'm really excited about it. As far as the teacher shortage, yep, we've got a teacher shortage. We have people who are jumping in, they're covering classrooms, but I will tell you the shortages we're seeing are at schools that historically have shortages. So there is a root cause problem there that we have to solve in Minneapolis Public Schools. Oh, did I follow my notes very well? Let's see what else. I did want to talk a little bit about the goals. So we have the 4 strategic goals. Oh, we're there. I should catch up with my slides. All right. So we have 4 strategic goals. You see them up there. The problem was we never financially talked about how much this would cost. So as I'm looking at this, we as a team are now going through our strategic plan. I'm asking all of our leaders who are in charge of these goals to go in, decide what the intended impact is year 5, and then backwards plan. It's an old special education trick, right? And then we have to cost that out because I'm going to need to prioritize what's going to happen next, right? So we're going to come into this next budget season knowing exactly how much our strategic plan cost and can we do it, can we financially afford it, but also we're going to know if the intervention triads work. And we're going to be able to see some trends, and we're going to know if we need to prioritize that or if it wasn't such a good idea and successful at all. So I think the information we're bringing to the table this budget season is so important. So I know that Senior Officer Gup is going to talk a lot more about our finances, but I want to take a moment to introduce you, if that's okay. And I think you actually have a slide. No, there it is. I went right by it. There you go. Is that it? That's the one? Okay. So Senior Officer Diop is an experienced finance and operations leader whose skill is in both nonprofit as well as educational staff development leadership. He has a master's degree in international economics. And under his leadership, our finance department has received a numerous award, including a Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting from the Association of Business. And I don't want to get these wrong, Ibrahima. They're really important. And Positive Fitch Ratings, which publishes credit ratings that projects opinions on our ability to meet our financial commitment, which impacts our bonds. And also the Government Finance Officers Association recently awarded us a Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting. So I'm pleased to introduce Senior Operator Diop, and we will also be participating in the Q&A afterwards, so we're excited to interact with you that way too. Senior Officer Diop.
Thank you, Superintendent Cox. It's interim superintendent, but it's easier for me to just say superintendent because it's more practical than anything else. So thank you very much for being here. Again, this is my 30th year in public schools, 25 of which in school finance. And so I joined the district in 2016, and you all know the conditions in which the district was. And because of the staff that we have at the district, one of them is here. The members of finance, can you stand up? Here is Tom Radke, the Director of Budget. And Doug Foucault there is the Executive Director of Finance, and there are others. And so finance, the finance division consists of accounting, accounts payable, so that's the list. And for the past 7 years, we've been having clean audits. Clean audits, an audit you know, since we get more than $700,000 of federal funds, we are required by statute to be audited by an outside entity. And so we've been, then every year, the audit findings in 2015, 14, 15, were over 15 findings, and we were able to reduce it to, last year we had 2 findings. One of them we found ourselves and shared with the auditors, and the second one is inherent with, with the shortage of staff that we had, especially in payroll and in procurement. So that caused a internal control finding, which we've been having over the past few years. And we hope that this time around it will be over, because we do have more adequate staffing. And as the superintendent said, this certificate of excellence is something that the people that are in my field are looking to get by doing the work that it requires. The same thing with the GFOA, which stands for Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada. So that we received this year. And again, all these things is because of the work that every single member of finance does day in, day out. I call them at midnight, they will respond. I text, they will respond. So that's how it works. And so I thank them at every opportunity that I have. You want to go to the next slide, please?
The button is right.
Oh. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess the arrow to the right means some move up, right? So this is enrollment. Enrollment is very important for us because our funding is predicated on the number of students that we have. Right here, you can see to the right. Historically, we've had enrollments that would move up or down depending on the population in Minneapolis. And so, but lately we've seen that as the population of Minneapolis increases, we notice a declining enrollment. That is due to many factors. I'll cite 2 of them here. When we did a survey 2 years back, the survey came back and said that many residents of Minneapolis are moving out of Minneapolis for 2 reasons. Housing prices, because people can't afford the housing that we have, options that we have in Minneapolis. And the second one would be because of violence. None of those things we control as the district. So, but we are in Minneapolis, that does have a tendency to affect us. The table to the right, or the graph to the right, shows just how many kids we have in Minneapolis. In 2005, or let's say 2000, there were about 60,000 students in the entire attendance area covering Minneapolis. That has shrunk to 46,000. And the reason for that is demographics again. We have many young people that are moving into Minneapolis without a family. And so that actually is translating into a lower birth rate over the past few years. And I'll go through this. If you have questions, please write them down, and then I'll answer them more specifically in the answer section. Here, this is the reason I think that we're here. And when I saw the title earlier with the impending fiscal crisis in Minneapolis, I said to the superintendent, we can actually substitute the name Minneapolis Public Schools with any school district in the country. So this is not proper to Minneapolis, and I wanted to take the time for you to realize that and understand and know that we are operating from that common understanding. And I'm writing right now my dissertation for my doctorate. And one thing that I found is the chronic issue that we have in the country, the entire United States, is in public school K-12. Why? Because of the aberrant absence of the federal government when it comes to education.
That's right.
And so if you have education that is now said that it's a local matter, then you have to go by, well, how wealthy is that local area that you're describing? And so, and by the way, I would say that my own kids attend the Minneapolis Public Schools. And every district that I work for, my kids attended that school. I came here from Omaha Public Schools, where I spent 21 years. So both of my two kids that are now, because the other two graduated, are attending Minneapolis Public Schools. So we're saying here that we did say in 2017, we came up with a pro forma. And it's been seen that, oh, Minneapolis is sinking, Minneapolis this, Minneapolis that. And I said, well, people miss the point here. Because of all the districts that you have in the metro area, how many do provide a pro forma statement? None. We do. Why? Because we want to share the condition, fiscal condition of the district with every resident of the district so that you know what we know. And when we come to you for understanding or for assistance, you know why that is the case. So with the pro forma that we issued, it showed that we would be in fiscal crisis in a year or two. Unfortunately or fortunately, something always happened to prolong that. So to say that, oh, well, like crying wolf, you, as a district, you're saying that you don't have money, but yet you're still functioning. Yes, we are functioning in this case because of the ESSER dollars. COVID is bad, and we know that. But in terms of finance, it allowed the district to raise its cash balance. Why? Because of the vacancies that we had, and plus the absolute amount, value of the federal dollars that we received. So we received 77.8, like 78 million, and increased our fund balance by 38 million. And I remember when the auditors came out and gave the findings or the audit results to the board, one of the criticism that I heard here and there was that, oh, they have money. Because the auditors said that they have a cash balance. And I said that this is not something that I would apologize for, and definitely not hide because the auditors said it. But what this consists of was the vacancies that we had, we could do two things. Use that money to hire more people, which would be the one thing not to do if you really intend to fill those positions in the future, or use it wisely. So I worked with my team, convincing the superintendent and the board to make sure that we build the cash balance using this, because every district in the country is doing that. I have a meeting every other Friday with all my colleagues nationwide. And what we're doing in Minneapolis is no different from what they do in Miami or Los Angeles or New York. And so having a cash balance allowed us to go through, would allow us actually to face the lack of federal dollars. So in total, we received 259 million. And if you see the difference between the 78 million and the 38 million, that's the 40 million that we would have had in terms of deficit. That we didn't because of the money that we received from the federal government. So that was a welcome action or participation from Washington. And so we thank them for that. And during the same period of time, we've seen vacancies in excess of 10%, which is high for a district like ours. Statutory operating debt. I heard this several times, and questions were asked of me back in the summer. Oh, is the district going to do this? And I liken it to two things. I have an example with a car. If you go and buy a car, people that you would say that, hey, I'm going to get a new car, won't ask you, hey, why are you getting a car? You're going to have an accident, or you're going to fall off the cliff. But never do you hear that they will congratulate you for getting a new car. The reason for it is that the assumption is everybody go past that to say that when you get a car, you'll be responsible enough to drive it following the rules of the road. If we are saying that we have federal dollars that would be sunsetting by September 2024, and that we would have a cliff, well, it's not the first time that we've had cliffs. And it probably won't be the last time, sadly. And that means that when we do the budget this time around, the superintendent talked about priority-based budgeting, which is a budget model that I've seen before work. I used it before, and we used it in Minneapolis last year. And the budget, thanks to the board, some of the board members are here, was approved unanimously, which was the first time in my time in Minneapolis. So thank you, board, for your understanding for that. And so statutory operating debt means that you are really, you spent your dollars, now your fund balance is negative. And it says that if you have a fund balance that is 2.5% negative, then you become, you are on, under statutory operating debt. And that doesn't mean that the state would take over. That just means that the state then would be providing a plan for the board and for administration to follow and report to the Commission of Education. But I don't even think that we are there, because this is something that was said about us many, many, many years ago, and we are still here. For one reason, we received these federal dollars and vacancies. Now we would have to do the work to making sure that we reduce our expenses. As the district, 84 to 85% of our expenses is about salaries and fringes. So we have a budget in terms of general fund that is about 700 million. If you add capital dollars and all that, it would take it about $1 billion. The majority of these funds, the general fund dollars, is paying for salaries and fringes. So if you are to cut expenses in a way that is meaningful, you can't avoid cutting staff. But what is the district in the country that does not cut staff when you have a declining enrollment? I think every district should be doing that, because that's just how it works. If you have a revenue shortage, you have to do two things: increase your revenue, work to increase your revenue, or reduce expenses. And sometimes I say that it's better to do both at the same time. Here we are, this graph here shows that if we didn't, with the pro forma that we started in 2016-17, we did say that we would be in a statutory operating debt in FY20 or so. But because of the federal dollars that we received and the cash balance that we built, we are at that blue line there. So if you follow that trajectory, it would be 2026, 27 and up that we would be talking about that, because we do have a cash balance that would allow us to navigate moving forward. In conclusion, the district enrollment has fallen significantly over the past 2 decades, as resident families have increasingly opted to send their kids to charter schools or the district. I am not one of them. The district financial issues are structural and enduring, predate the pandemic. That is true, because I did remember my first address to the board after looking at the financial statements was that we are operating as though we still have 55,000 students when we have 30,000. So we are still operating with that model, which means that it is not adequate for where we're heading. The COVID-19 issue caused two things: added increased cash balance and vacancies, which also turn out to support our cash balance. And that has given us time to really do what we need to do to not hit SOD or statutory operating debt at all. And so the other thing that I wanted to say with these ESSER dollars were sent to districts nationwide, saying that it would follow the model of Title I. Title I is the largest federal dollars that any given district receives. And with that, there is a provision that is you supplement, but you don't supplant. And so that means that you cannot, for instance, take Title I dollars to pay for a principal's salary or superintendent's salary or my salary. That is the function of the district. So you would use the federal dollars for something that is above, or that is different from that in a classroom, supplementing what is being, what the district is providing. But with the ESSER, it was very clear that the federal government said that the supplement, non-supplant option or clause is not applicable. So you can use the dollars any way you want. So what we did, the bulk of the ESSER dollars, we used them for 2 years for what's called continuation of services. At that time, the superintendent did say that it did not make sense to reduce, to lay off employees at a time of a pandemic and economic downturn. So we decided then to use the ESSER dollars to keep staff, which means that from that point to now, we've been with staff that we don't have a revenue to support. So the budget this year would be really hard, but it is something that I think we needed to have 10, 15 years ago. So having it now is, we welcome it. How you can help? There was a bullet here that said, call your legislature, and I asked that we take it off because we have to say thank you to the legislature for their effort this year. We received additional dollars, and had it not been because of their vision and their support for public schools, especially Minneapolis Public Schools, that wouldn't have happened. So thank you, legislature, for your action last summer or late spring. So we ask you to educate others in school finance. I know that it's a fun topic, so thank you. Amplify the good things that are happening in Minneapolis. There are so many good things that happen every day. Every day we see that and hear that. But unfortunately, what I see and hear is any mistake that we make is amplified. And I'm sitting and saying, well, we just had a budget that is balanced. And for the past 7 years, we've been presenting balanced budgets. This budget was unanimously supported by the board. That, to me, is a great story. That's what I'm talking about here. Continue to participate in community organizations and happenings, and stay positive, because that, without being optimistic and positive, I would not be able to start my day. So every day that I am heading to the district at the Davis Center, I have to be positive, especially when I see a yellow bus. So please support us by being positive and look at the positive things that are happening in the district on a daily basis. That's what I had for you, and so we'll wait now for, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Senior Officer Diop, and thank you, Superintendent Cox.